They're puzzled, they're stunned, they say they don't know. Oh, what a show, what a show. They point to the sky, to the tides and the flow. Where did it go, where did it go? They'll blame the heat, they'll blame the waves. Not the course, not the grave. They'll figure it out someday soon, someday soon, someday. The blob don't burn, the blob don't kill, but the core still burn and the waste still spills. The blob don't kill, the blob don't burn, but the fuel still melts and the tides still turn. The blob don't burn, the blob don't kill, but the fish still starve and the bones lie still. The blob don't kill, the blob don't burn, but the truth stays buried where the dead things fill. They'll figure it out someday soon, someday soon, someday. The truth stays buried.
All right. I'm a bit slow tonight. My apologies. Just give me 1 second. So I got double videos of Benjamin Netanyahu before the controversy and since the controversy. I got his recent video on top of that that came out today. And just hang on now, I'm getting you. I want to get you the link to the opening song because I think that song should be very popular at hip hop clubs and stuff like that. And so anything I can do to contribute to it, we're going to play 2 sets of double videos before we get into the AI. So just put a link there in the description, the scientists and their blob, and a link to that song. Excuse me. All right. This is wild. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to kind of get out of the way. So look at the details of his face, at his hair and everything. The AI is really good, trust me. Now, there's another issue where his ring disappears when he gets by the dog. I'm going to slow it down. We're going to zoom in on the original video and see if we... Not see, but we'll show you what I'm talking about there. Let's play that. So, to the right is the new video. To the left is one from a few weeks ago. Unless you got a facelift in the last couple of weeks. It's completely different. See, his ring is going to disappear when he reaches. Yes, now it's gone. I'll come back and show you that after. Look how clean his face is. You know, how come he's not releasing videos? Why is it strangers? Why is he releasing this type of video? Everything is calm. There's probably nowhere in Israel right now it's calm. Everybody's just having a great old day. And so you got nobody, we don't know who these people are, we can't compare him. Now if he was with his cabinet staff, it'd be really hard to fake that video, right? Now his whole body is really stiff and everything else. But when you look at the video to the left, let me go back because you got better detail. See the detail of his face and his forehead has got lots of wrinkles and bumps, natural deformities.
איזה סוג זה? נענית ישראלית, כל הכבוד. טוב, גם לא מגיע קצת.
Okay, let me stop it there. So then, there's been speculation that these are, well, he's an ex-colonel, he's an ex-CIA analyst, he's 74, 75, he's around the same, I think, don't quote me.
And a vast territory. We're in it for a short-term political boost, a lot of money made, and a point that Trump wants to show to MAGA about his war-making ability, and give to Marion Adelson as a president, Israel is safe. All of these things are just hogwash. They're absolute hogwash. I wouldn't be surprised. I just listening to Doug on the Judges show, and he's worried about the same thing I am, that Netanyahu is going to upload 3 or 4 nukes, and he's going to have them ready, and he's going to use them because Israel is going down the rat hole with this.
He's going to upload 3 or 4 nukes and have his way with them. Them being, I guess, Iran, right? Who's he going to target, though? Because Iran's a pretty big country. Okay, so here's the next one. To your left is today's video where he's in a coffee shop. Now, watch his coffee cup. It fills up when he lifts it up. Until he lifts it up, it's empty. And then it's filled all the way to the very top. And so this, so at the very top, of course, you know how careful you ever pick a completely full one all the way up. And you got to lean ahead, meet it halfway, and get a little sip and start dropping it down. And he being the prime minister, of course, why would they fill it all the way up knowing he's going to have to struggle with it? And everything is like a picture perfect setting. It's a coffee shop. As far as I know, everybody's in the bomb shelters. Nobody in coffee shops, right? His country is actually under siege. Just because they have a censorship on it doesn't mean it's not happening.
So
this is a video of him before the controversy. Look at the details of his face, of his forehead. Right, there's always big wrinkles. He's 74, 76 years old. And the big, his nose is completely, the neck, the whole, and the body motion over there is another thing. But watch his coffee to your left also. I'm going to get it out of the way. We're going to play this one twice. Then we're going to play the individual. We'll zoom in on those.
אני מת על קפה, אתה יודע מה? אני מת על העם שלי. איך הם מתנהגים, פנטסטי. אתה רוצה לספור מספר
אתה יכול
להראות לנו?
It's like it's a frozen cup. It moves a little bit like it's jelly. He takes a sip.
לצאת להתאוורר, אבל ליד מרחב מוגן.
He starts pointing with it.
העמידה שלכם היא מדהימה. נותנת כוח לי, לממשלה, לצה"ל, למוסד. אנחנו עושים דברים אני לא יכול לשתף ברגע זה, אבל עושים דברים מכים באיראן חזק מאוד, גם ביום הזה, גם בלבנון, ממשיכים. אתם אומרים לי להמשיך? אני אומר לכולכם, גם אתם תמשיכו. תמשיכו להישמע להוראות פיקוד העורף, כל הזמן להישמע להוראות פיקוד העורף, וגם לראשי הערים, להיות תמיד ליד מחר. אנחנו נקל ככל שהדבר ניתן. ותודה לך על הקפה.
Look at that, see his coffee? See
לא יודע
that?
לגבי הקלוריה, זה נראה לי מסוכן מאוד.
So let's play that video. Like he points with it.
פה עם שיר ושיר.
Okay, well, let me do this one instead. Then we'll do the one. Well, I don't think it really matters. Let's do the one I said I was going to do, actually, where he's got the coffee. Okay. All right. So first thing I got to do is kind of zoom in a little bit. So we can move that around, zoom right in. So when he gets close to the coffee, okay. Let me zoom in on that. I'll move it over in your frame for you. And it might not be as pronounced because it's so distorted.
מה שאלת אותי?
Let me center that one more time. There it is. Like, see, it's empty. There was coffee in it. Now it's empty.
מת על קפה, אתה יודע מה? אני
Now
מת
it
על
picks it
העם
up,
שלי.
and now there's coffee. Now it's like above the rim. See that? Let me zoom in on that anymore. Yeah. See that? It's actually above the rim. As AI. Let's keep going for a second. Okay. So it's actually above the rim there when you zoom right in. We'll zoom in on him after. Let's chase his cup for a few seconds. I'll try to keep it centered once it starts playing.
מתנהגים, פנטסטי. אתה רוצה לספור את מספר אצבעות?
אתה יכול להראות לנו?
פה.
Changing hands.
לחיים.
אני חושב של המסר לאנשים שיוצאים
Taking a
ומתאווררים.
suck.
לצאת להתאוורר, אבל ליד מרחב
It's
מוגן.
actually like above
והעמידה שלכם
because
היא
of the way
מדהימה.
3D
נותנת
works.
כוח לי, לממשלה,
Look at it.
לצה"ל, למוסד.
Look at that.
אנחנו עושים דברים שאני לא יכול לשתף
You're going to point with it.
ברגע זה, אבל עושים דברים מכים באיראן חזק מאוד גם ביום
Don't
הזה.
say it's cream because
גם
remember
בלבנון.
how it started out?
ממשיכים. אתם אומרים לי להמשיך?
Even
אני
cream
אומר
won't do
לכולכם,
that either, right?
גם אתם תמשיכו. תמשיכו להישמע להוראות פיקוד העורף כל
Didn't,
הזמן.
like the
להישמע
beginning was
להוראות
empty,
פיקוד
then it was
העורף,
full.
וגם לראשי הערים, להיות תמיד
It
ליד
was
מרחב
full
מוגן.
rather, then it was empty, then it
אנחנו
was full
נקל
again.
ככל שהדבר ניתן. ותודה לך על הקפה, הוא
See that?
מצוין.
Every pointed?
אני לא יודע לגבי הקלוריות, זה נראה לי מסוכן מאוד.
Okay, we'll go back to that piece. I'll zoom out for a second.
להיות תמיד ליד מרחב מוגן. אנחנו נקל ככל שהדבר ניתן.
Yeah,
ותודה לך על
yeah.
הקפה, הוא מצוין.
With a completely
Go back.
full cup of coffee. But again, when you look at how clean his forehead is, his cheeks, his down from his eyes, and then you take known videos, you see his head has always got creases and bumps and lumps, and same thing with his nose. And under his nose, there's always that defined mark there, where he ate an elbow or a knee at some point. And then the dimples, the big cheeks, the way his whole face. Right, so when you do it,
ראש הממשלה אומרים ברשת שאתה בכלל
see it here.
אני מת על קפה, אני מת על העם שלי. איך הם מתנהגים.
Okay, let's go to the next video. We'll come back. Okay, so this
פה עם
one
שיר ושיר.
is the same thing I showed you. They're different.
תודה, תודה לך.
He doesn't have. I'm just bring it up for 1 second so you can appreciate it. This one here. When you look at like the forehead, and we just played the whole. We'll come back and do that one more time, though, because I know it's confusing. This one here.
פה עם שיר ושיר.
Let me zoom in and get rid of the stuff on top. I'll raise it up. And we might want to see everything, so just a bit bigger than it was without, okay, I can go up a little bit bigger. And then once I rise it up, we're in, go.
תודה, תודה לכם. תודה לכם. טוב, קצת לספוג שמש.
Look how stiff the body is. And if you look at Benjamin Netanyahu, his whole body's always thrusting. When he's telling somebody, he's always moving forward. He's always projecting onto himself. Here he walks like he's
של מי
got
הכלב?
a stick up his arse or something. Okay, now you're going to see a ring on his finger when he moves around. Huh?
נענית ישראלית, כל הכבוד.
Okay, right there. See the dog? So we're going to zoom in. I'm going to raise this up a little bit. And then we'll find the ring. I'll slow it down and we'll see that
טוב, גם
transition.
לא מגיע קצת. יאללה, לכולכם מגיע. כן.
He's got a
יצאתם
ring on
להתעורר
his
קצת?
right, on his left hand. There it is. We missed it. Hang on. You can see the ring on his finger right there. Right? That's a ring. And that's where the ring belongs. That's what you're expecting to see. That's what we're used to seeing. Is he's got a ring on his finger. And he only takes it off for sex with a sheep, apparently. Now he's got no ring. Now he's got a ring. So let me go back. I screwed that up. I'm supposed to slow that down. And speed. I'm going to go 25%. Ring's there. I missed it, did I? Now there goes the ring, no ring. See that? Let's do it one more time, I'll stop it. No ring. Oh. Bear with me. I wasn't quick enough to hit the stop button. No ring. Right, so he's got no ring on the way. So let's come back a bit further. Now watch the transition of his hand. Look for the ring. You'll see the ring. There's the ring hanging right here. For sure. And then the ring's gone. That's AI. That's 100% AI. So then the question is, why, in the name of goodness, is he doing? Why are they putting out? This is from his office. Now they put out a video. Was unconfirmed whether he was hurt. They never said he's not hurt. They said it was unconfirmed. Excuse me. He's not rallying the country. He's not making public appearances. He's not posting messages. He's not doing interviews. He's not doing interviews with the media. He's not doing interviews with the foreign medias. He's not traveling the United States and getting 58 ovations in 52 minutes at the Senate. He's not producing videos where there's people or buildings or shops in the background that we can identify. Right? Everything about it. And then his face, when you his face and his body's motions, when you compare it. Right? The way the upper body, the head movements, the dimples, the wrinkles on his forehead. And the way he's talking, and look at this walk. That's not Benjamin Netanyahu is a very wealthy, very powerful person. He walks with a lot of swagger. He has to portray power. There's a lot of people want him in jail. So was he going to use nukes? And was there an uprising and he was killed? Was he killed most likely by the endless bombardment of missiles and supersonic missiles with one-ton warheads traveling 14, 15 times the speed of sound, and just that kinetic impact is enormous. But they have a 1 ton of high military-grade explosives, and that are seeded with something, most likely depleted uranium, because that's what Israel does, which will turn it into like a 10-ton, 12-ton, 14-ton explosive, 6 or 7 grams. That's what they do for fracking too, right? The sadistic creatures. So when you look at the video, these are different people, for sure. But when you look at the AI facet, where his ring actually disappears, but the hair is different. His hair looks like It's totally different cut, like the length of each hair. Right, AI didn't get that. His ears are closed. I give him credit for that.
ראש הממשלה אומרים ברשת שאתה בכלל מת.
אני מת על קפה, אתה יודע מה? אני מת על העם שלי.
The chin,
איך הם מתנהלים איתו טס.
the jawline, the hair itself, the wrinkles. No wrinkles on a 76-year-old man.
לחיים.
But then his coffee is empty before he picks it up. When he picks it up, then it's full, and then he's swinging it all over the place. So both of these are clearly AI. I have absolutely... Now, I've been doing green screen work for how many years? Holy crap. I do a lot of it, too. Like an absurd amount for using advanced edition equipment, too, right? And then James, of course, is very prolific with AI. So I'm very familiar. I'm very keen on that stuff. I'm very familiar, right? And I'm looking at the subtleties. James could have done a better job than they did, whoever released these videos. But that's a fact. And so when you know what Benji looks like, you know how he walks and how he moves and how he shakes. If you go watch videos of your own of Benji, of dead Benny, I'm tickled that he's dead. The world's a much better place. And that's the poll tonight. Is the world a better place with this disgusting fucking parasite dead? Will the world be a better place if Satan, Benjamin Netanyahu, is dead? Well, Molosky, isn't that his real name, Molosky? Now, we know his brother was killed. They came out and said it was a car accident. So why didn't they say that Benjamin, if he is injured severely, say he was in a car accident or something like that? They didn't acknowledge he had any health issues whatsoever. But the office is putting out fake videos. He hasn't done any public comments. He hasn't done any public interviews. He hasn't talked to the world media. Normally, he's out there selling his ass. He's one of the best salesmen out there for the war machine, right? He's out there pushing the narrative all day long. And they're running. So there's rumors now there was a huge shakeup in the upper administrations. And we know his brother was dead. We know his house was hit. We know his bomb shelter was destroyed at his office. Let me see what I got here.
You know, the Iranians are showing an ability to get intelligence information inputs in the morning and strike in the afternoon.
Scott Ritter.
With deadly effect. And also, they're starting to expand their target deck. Remember, they didn't invent the concept of...
We covered this 6 or 7 days ago. I think this was 6-7 days ago. We covered it that same day, where Scott Ritter breaks the news that Benjamin Netanyahu's brother is dead. And Santa says, Fox or somebody says he was in a car accident. And Scott says...
Regime change. That was Israel on day one, killing Ali Khamenei. Last night, the Iranians struck the home of Benjamin Netanyahu. They killed his brother. They struck the home of Ben Gvir. He is seriously wounded, may not survive. Iran is going to start to take out the totality of Israel's leadership. This is the reality of this conflict. Israel played the regime change game. It's going to be the Israelis that are going to be paying the highest price. The Iranians are no longer wearing kid gloves. They've taken them off, and they're coming in bare knuckle.
They're reporting it. This is interesting. I looked it up as soon as you said it. The BBC is reporting it as Ben Gvir was in a car accident last night. Does that surprise you?
You know, they can report it any way they want. We know that his home is on fire, so maybe he crashed his car into his house.
That's interesting. I mean, the only reason I just can't help but be amused by this, because it would not surprise me for the BBC to provide cover for a story like this. Yeah, you and I
now know that the BBC reporters that work overseas are vetted by MI6 before they're allowed to take on their assignment.
They're vetted by MI6 before they get a voice. So this, okay, not that one. If I was to reach the Messiah, now this was right in the controversy zone. Now some people, I think it was part of this was a longer video, was saying he had 6 fingers on one hand. And that's what started that original controversy. So I said, look, if I don't need to use the original one, I'm better off, because you put out 2 more videos, and as we just showed you, those 2 videos, we debunked them. They're 100% AI. That's
ראש הממשלה אומרים ברשת שאתה בכלל מת.
especially that coffee.
אני מת על העם שלי.
But it's just the whole facial features. Everything is missing on the AI one. But when you look at the coffee, when it was empty, it was full. He picked it up. Just before he picked it up, it was empty. And then when he picked it up, it's over the top. And he swings it around. It doesn't spill anything. He drinks some. It doesn't go down any. Right, the level of it. That's AI. I showed you painfully the ring actually disappears, but in comparison of side by side, which would be that one there, and this one, the comparison is 100%. 100%. There was 2 AI videos, minimum. And there's a lot of people out there are showing strong evidence for the one I didn't play. I'm sorry, I showed it to you, but I didn't play it. And so there's, because we know he's such a prolific speaker, he's such a prolific peddler of his war machine and bragging machine. He loves to brag, he loves to be out there, and he loves to fly. Normally if you got a big war like this going, what happened in 9 months ago? You had the leader of almost every country had to fly to, except for the United States, where he went and got 58 standing ovations in a 52-minute speech. Of all things, that's the most absurd thing history will remember. And many other things, but that's definitely up there. Let me see. All right, so what's the date today anyway? I don't even know anymore. 16th of March 2026. So I just done a first part, painstakingly amount of work on showing that Benjamin Netanyahu is most likely dead. As far as I can tell, he's dead because he's not doing interviews, he's not traveling, he's not doing public meetings, he's not doing war room meetings, he's not doing the pandering that he always notorious. He's not speaking, telling the country to stay strong. There's no footage coming out of the country sanctioned. Footage is coming out, but it's not sanctioned stuff. So Twitter and BitChute, and even then is very sparsely. But there is an awful lot of documentation that's gotten out showing Israel has been brutalized too. And that's brutalized. I think it's destroyed 67,000 buildings in Iran. It's pretty easy to do in a city of 9+ million people. But it's also, that's collective punishment, right? Japan takes South Korea, which is a war crime. But anyway, Benny, by the looks, all shapes and forms, is dead. And he's on life support. And so I think he's on life support despite the fact that he has no hope of living. And so by keeping him on life support, they can, because they don't want Iran to know that's a big celebration, that's to demoralize the Israeli people, right? But it has to come out at some point. Putting out AI videos was a serious mistake. Right, that's a serious mistake. I'm surprised he didn't have pre-recorded stuff to put out in a case like this. Japan takes South Korea to World Trade Organization over Fukushima food bans. It's not like Benjamin Netanyahu, instead of going to a cafe or up on a mountain, perfect serenity, beautiful locations, pristine, no sounds, no noises, nothing background. Despite what we know, it's actually chaos because Iran's hitting Israel 24 hours a day with big bombs, 1 ton plus warheads that are seeded. Okay, so let's talk about Fukushima, Japan. And that's kind of important too. And this is one of the reasons we believe this war of all wars we're seeing right now is finally happening. They kicked off something big. So Japan lost multiple reactors. 4 reactors, top of each of the buildings were 9 reactor cores. And there's usually 5.5 reactor cores per building produced every decade. The buildings are over 30 years old. So theoretically, there could be 15 reactor cores at the top of each of the buildings, which are originally 190 feet tall, 65 meters, 19-story buildings. Think of a 19-story apartment building. And think of the enormous amount of damage we're talking about. Now, officially, these are both the official pictures, but because UN took over, IAEA, ERPA, UNSCLEAR, the IPRC, etc., nuclear departments have taken over and cooked up a cover story. The cover story is that never happened. So now a model is based upon TEPCO's data of the radioactive fallout based on 20 days of neptunium-239. It decays to plutonium-239. This was a plutonium mixed oxide reactor on top of everything else. These were massive reactors in comparison to Chernobyl. Chernobyl was a new reactor. It was a small reactor. It was a graphite reactor. It didn't have decades of reactor cores stored at the top of the buildings. These buildings were massive reactors. They were pure uranium, pure plutonium. They were huge reactor cores. They have 2 fuel pools at the top of the building. They don't have a repository, so everything is stored there. And eventually, after a long, many years, even a decade before, stuff is transferred across the street to what's known as a common spent fuel pool. And we have an absurd amount of documentation suggesting we lost that building too. And then also reactor 6. But because reactor 1, 2, 3, and 4 are easy to prove, right? We still bring that into the equation, but not as much as we should, by no means in shape, because I would hope that the average person has the immediate capacity to appreciate that that building doesn't exist anymore and this building doesn't exist anymore. Right? You with me so far? Hang on. Because we just switched gears, and I want you to make sure that it's worth your time to hang around for a few minutes, because this affects you. If you eat food, drink water, and breathe air like a normal everyday person, this affects you. You are not getting, your loved ones are not escaping this. Your grandparents, your friends, your families are not going to escape this. Okay. I just want to show you what the official picture is. There are 2. So reactor 4 officially is that picture, but it's also this one. So since 2023, even though this is 2013, since 2023, they just went ahead and said it looks like that. Reactor 4. Now, reactor 4 is to your left. Now, why would you hide that? Why were you trying to cover that up? Why are you pretending? Why are you going through such an extreme where you're putting all the media in a position where it's easy to call them fake news, right? Because clearly they're not on top of that building. So they had to appreciate that no media was going to call them on it or challenge them or any dissenting voices from the mainstream medias, musicians, or anybody else, a big organization like Greenpeace and everybody else. This is a neptunium-239 covering the planet in 20 days. It doesn't include the inventories of any of the fuel pools, let alone these 2 buildings, which were 18 massive reactor cores, pure uranium, pure plutonium. And this decays to plutonium after, there's 10 decays. They're 2.5 days apart for neptunium-239. Their next decay, and they have 10 decays, but the next one, it'll take 24,000 years when it gets there, which is plutonium-239. So neptunium-239 is only active for 2.5 days before there's a first decay. So the model based on 20 days and 21 days means almost the entire thing is plutonium, not neptunium. Now the problem on top of that is they refuse to include the entire inventories. So because it's the 5th anniversary, I wanted to make sure I can come out and because I'm probably the only person out there providing a show that I know of anyway, certainly does with documentation. What have I got done over here? Hang on. All right, here we go. So Japan takes South Korea to the World Trade Organization over Fukushima. We covered that back in 2015, sadly. Japan has filed a World Trade Organization trade complaint against South Korea. Now, they won that. And it took a year, and the appeal went through, and then Japan lost it. Japan wanted South Korea to take food from a nuclear wasteland. This is the same nuclear wasteland where 55 countries banned it from 14 prefectures, not just the Fukushima prefecture. But if you're smart, you banned it from the whole planet. One Fukushima could destroy a whole country. Remember that statement? Investigation chairman. One Fukushima may destroy the whole country. Collapse of a whole country is possible from a Fukushima event. Collapse of a whole country. It's really something, isn't it? We just kind of explore that for a few minutes. I'll get there. All right, here we go. Just in case. It's too much. One Fukushima could destroy a whole country. This is the Xenon 133 based upon 20 days, March the 31st. And this was the study. It was 1 million atoms per square meter. So this is based on detection. So this is not a opinion or a conjecture or a possible model. This is based on documentation in North America of 1 million atoms per square meter. Now, it can't travel by itself.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
He was talking
Good
about
evening, my
UN.
fellow Americans. We now stand 10 years past the midpoint of a century that has witnessed 4 major wars among great nations. Until the latest of our world conflicts, the United States had no armaments industry. American makers of plowshares could, with time and as required, make swords as well. But we can no longer risk emergency improvisation of national defense. We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. Added to this, 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense establishment. Now, this conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
He's talking about United Nations. So rain with 20 million particles, iodine-131. There was stories about his iodine killing babies in Philadelphia after Fukushima because there's a big spike. 40 million atoms of iodine in a single bed of kelp. Now remember, iodine is probably code word for curium, which is the biggest byproduct of the radioactive fuel rods. 220 million atoms per liter of iodine-129. And what's the biggest byproduct of the radioactive fuel rods again? Curium isotopes, by the way, need lead shielding 20 times thicker than plutonium. A lot of curium came out of this. And a lot of it. 4 buildings in a row.
Then when a radiative iodine comes in from the outside, it would eat up readily, voraciously, meaning that there will be concentration of a radioactive iodine in the thyroid. So when it is in an iodine-rich situation already, when the radioactive iodine comes in from the outside, it is enough. You don't need any more. So if you have, for the preventive measure, have a stable iodine being taken in advance, that would be sufficient as a protection. So I'm sure the workers have been given such a stable iodine.
Nobody had stable iodine. Nobody knew they were going to have a meltdown and meltdowns and meltdowns, right? You needed 48 hours. And even then, it's still going to end up, all the other isotopes are still going in your body. Comparing X-rays and CAT scans are meaningless. Inhaling particles increases radiation exposure by a factor of 1 trillion. I set off my poor foot again tonight. I'm not impressed at all. I was walking around today, doing really good. I just pushed down on my toes and look, they all broke. But they're not, I can wiggle them, so they're not broken. Certainly inflamed it, though. So when you got it in your body, inhaling the particles, exposure by a factor of 1 trillion, because it's destroying chromosomes and cells and DNA every second. With pulses of energy in every direction. Your body has to repair every one of them every second. It can't keep up with that. Your body's attacking the source every second because it's pulsing energy every second, almost at the speed of light. Your body doesn't know what it is. That's not a normal element from the universe. With that energy, right? We call it man-made, anthropogenic, because it's man-made. Because it's not from the solar system, not created by the sun. It's not coming from space, right? Our body doesn't, it's a foreign object. So your body attacks it, tries to build a tumor around it, which is a sarcophagus in the body's world, and has to try to repair the damage. So your immune system is compromised immediately. Now, when you talk about a factor of 1 trillion, that's one of the most honest statements imaginable, because it's wrecking endless chromosome, DNA cells, permanent lesions to your organs with every pulse of energy. It does it every second for ever. You can't destroy it. It's electrically charged, so it sequesters in your muscles, your organs, your bones. Radioactive xenon-133 in Washington was 450 times above detection levels, persisted for weeks. So we got all these different isotopes, different independent studies from different, like the iodine-131, there's 10 times more 132 and 30 times more 133 and 31 times more iodine-129. The iodine-132 133 are 9 times more effective than the iodine-131, which is incredibly effective at ionizing, radiating the thyroid glands of every species. Population has truly collapsed or virtually gone everywhere. Massive decline of fish has thrown off the ecosystem for along the California coast. That was all the way to Alaska. We were there doing research expeditions for almost 6 years. Whale numbers dropping significantly. Squid are disappearing. Other major die-offs. Now, I've recently produced a horrific amount of die-off of emaciated whales. If you come on my front page and go to the live, where you are right now, same section. All right, just come down a few clicks and you see all these dead whale videos. All right, these are absurd amount of dead whales showing up worldwide, starved to death. Nothing but bones and skin. Going from 400,000 pounds to 30,000, just guts, just the organs, the bones and skin left. And the skin is paper thin. If they had died at sea, they would have sank immediately, nothing to keep them buoyant. So all of them were, I mean, they're the most horrific pictures. And you got 12, 14 hours of it there. Now, I did try to do I done a live show recently, up here somewhere. You see this one here, 11 hours, 55 minutes. There's 4 hours missing from that video of emaciated whales. And another important video in this collection is the insects. This video right here. But that's really important one, that particular video. You should have that in your personal collection because of the documentation that's in it. If you go to my playlist and you go to Mass Species Die-Off and click on the full playlist, well, that's the full playlist, but not all the videos of the die-offs are in that playlist. I'm going to have to clean the playlist, go back through all my videos, which is well over 1,000, and then aggregate all of them onto this playlist. But there's 50 or 60, there's 64 videos there of die-offs, and that's current die-offs. Most of these videos are the current die-offs. So all the headlines are below it. All the documentation is in the video. And I got a tendency to tell the story. I got a tendency to tell the story in pretty big details when I do these specific. I usually got a big, not usually, but a lot of the times anyway, a very long introduction. Let's put it that way. Where I introduce you to Fukushima, right? I just assume everybody doesn't know Fukushima when it comes to the die-off videos, because I want each of those videos to be capable of providing people with more than enough documentation for my assertions, which are high concentrations of radiation in the United States and Canada, rich in cesium-137. Then the French government, IRSN, put out a study, 1 million to 10 million atoms. That model is only based on 8 days until the 18th of March. 8 days. And that's North America, the United States and Canada is getting hit that day and the next day. But the plume eventually, after 20 days, covers the entire planet, right? Let's keep her rolling here. So Japan will just take down country after country after country with propaganda, pay off the politicians, and get them to import the food. Experimental zero-light rice paddy project in Date City, December 9, 2011. Date City is a brutal nuclear wasteland. So you shouldn't grow food there for thousands of years. And so experimental zero-light, they were just kind of like looking for feedback from the population, see how much resistance. And so you got to see potassium. They would put potassium, say that gets rid of the cesium, so now it's good to grow food. But this is madness to even think that way, or even that's the equivalent of saying that's the equivalent of saying they can jump over the moon. So zero light is supposed to absorb the anthropogenic man-made radiation, and then the potassium is supposed to displace it. Like putting this in a farmer's field. So this is like, so the zero light might be something if you got a leak, an actual leak, not the, everything nuclear happens nuclear. The building blew up, it had a leak. The building ejected non-reactor cores right out of the building. Well, it could be leaking. They won't even say then it's leaking. They'll say it could be leaking. It might leak something. They're insane. This whole industry is actually insane. Every facet of the industry is predicated upon deceit, dishonesty, lies, blatant lies. An experimental project, going to spray zero light, spray it, and potassium, will aid in, and so they want you to suck you into the cesium narrative because this is 80 years of that propaganda. The biggest byproduct is curium isotopes. You don't want anything to do with that. It's a bone seeker. You're immediately producing radioactive stem cells, so are your children, friends, and families and species. Cesium's nasty, don't get me wrong. It pulses energy 600 feet every second, a legitimate concern. If you aggregate it anywhere, you got a problem getting in proximity because it has so much energy. But actually suggesting they grow food in the nuclear wasteland because they're only worried about cesium. This is anybody eats the food, gets sick, and dies eventually from it. Their friends and their loved ones will liquidate their assets trying to give them some comfort, but they'll die from it. It could take a day or a week or a month or a year or a couple of years or a decade, but it'll happen for sure, depending on how much and how often they ate it. But you're talking about a nuclear wasteland, an original nuclear wasteland with the worst of the worst. So just the fact that they would even say something like this, they should lose their degrees. Any academics participate in it should be banned from every university and every academic journal on the planet till the end of time. They should lose their degree immediately. They're fraudsters. And they're criminals. What they're doing is criminal. The idea being if the potassium is there, the plants may take that in rather than the cesium. It's the craziest statement imaginable. So, let me see this. So if you got a plate of food, and you take cyanide and you put it over the food, over 3/4 of the food, say. Now you go out and you give that to your kid. What's that called? That's called murder, right? Well, here they're suggesting they can put something on top of that will suck up the cesium, and so it'll probably be okay. But it's so much worse than that because there's radiation. Radiation is 2 billion times more toxic than industrial poison because it's in your body pulsing energy at the speed of light every second. And the species reckon the chromosomes, the cells, the DNA. There's nothing good going to come out of it. No Spider-Man, no Hulks. Government funds will assist the program. What program? The genocide machine. And both local government officials and farmers will cooperate in the project. If the farmers will cooperate, or else an experimental. Like they're taking the heavy radioactive stuff and dumping it in farmlands now and just growing food because there is no. People don't have any respect for the industry. They're not worried about it. They think it's all taken care of. Greenpeace will take care of it. I'm not worried about it. It's nuclear. I don't know anything about nuclear. An experimental project. Fire at the Nami nuclear waste site. I wonder who lit that. Which employee lit that? Which homeless person lit that to get the frig out of that job? And look at the firemen. So, like, if you're a fireman and you got a nuclear waste site, and here, look at me, I'm talking to you. If you're a fireman, I'm looking at you now, listen to me. If you're a fireman and you get sent out to a nuclear waste site, don't be that guy there. Don't do that. Don't be like that. Run away. Quit your job. Be smart about this. So if you're a firefighter and there's a nuclear waste site on fire and you get the call, what do you do? It's called, where I come from, we call it mutiny. And the skipper doesn't listen, we throw him overboard. No life jacket. Dead man tells no tales. Well, he went out for a piss, never seen him after. Just let that sink in, man. Look at that headline. Just say it out loud. Say it after me. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Fire at the Nami nuclear waste site. Now look at the picture and tell me that there's something wrong in that picture. For goodness sakes, restore my faith in humanity. That is the scariest thing I've ever saw. There's a fireman at a nuclear waste site with a garden hose. Or with a hose. Woo! You can't smell anything. It was the best fire ever. Lost the taste of food for the rest of my life. Died a week later. Loose branches and dead grass being prepared to be loaded into the iconic black bags used for nuclear soil. So that's the homeless and the destitute and the victims of society, immigrants who don't speak the language that was collecting that. So they're bringing it all to one site in wheelbarrows. This is madness, boy. It burned for 5 hours before the firefighters were able to put it out. You know what kind of emissions are coming out of that once you start to put it out and how thick that stuff actually is? Can you imagine how toxic that smoke really was? Everything it touched, the fire trucks, all their equipment themselves. So you can't filter that. You can't protect yourself in that environment. There's that crazy stuff, boy. Fukushima is crazy. Loose branches and radioactive dead grass can be seen in the Anne video, burning in close proximity to large piles of black bags. That's just madness. He picked up 30 million one-ton black bags of the same material, which was 3% of the land, and mostly farmland and the communities. They dug up topsoil as if that's going to help. No information about the radiation levels or how much. Well, we know the stuff they're picking up, minimum criteria is 100,000 atoms per kilogram. And there's 30 million one-ton bags, so each one-ton bag is 100,000 atoms of just gamma per kilogram. They're not counting neutrons and betas and alphas, because the Japanese, they're immune to that stuff. Despite the fact that there's not a single animal survived at that kind of exposures. There's 865,000 cancers in the first year. No information about the radiation levels or how much radiation was released into the fire available at this time. Leaked emails show the British government worked with the nuclear companies on a public relation campaign to downplay Fukushima. The degree of collusion was shocking. Well, you're talking about the British, though. The British academic world, the nuclear industry, are the most despicable humans, after Benjamin Netanyahu, of course, that you can imagine. Benji's dead. Hopefully I'm proven right in the very near future. They're not going to be able to keep this charade. Like, he should be in the war room. He should be on TV everywhere. He should be mouthing off to reporters all the time. He should be out there selling the war every minute. He should be out there, right, to rally in the country, right, to stand tall, stand tough. Instead, this weird video comes out that they will survive to see the Messiah. Right, and that's a controversial video, that one, too. But the last two videos are clearly AI. That's not up for debate. And at the first 25 minutes, we methodically showed that to be true. With my superior editing skills, might add. Oh, that hurts. I'm pretty rough, man. I'm so busted up, not funny. Oh, God. Just keep her going. That's the routine right now, is just get into a routine and try to keep it moving forward. Results suggest significant mortality cost of low-dose radiation. 0.05 microsieverts. There's children with 50,000 microsievert doses for so that we covered recently, right? Results show significant mortality, significant death of low-dose radiation. 0.05 microsieverts an hour is considered contaminated. Significant mortality, 2012, April the 18th. I was in bird studies. Increase in frequency of selective death due to mutations as consequences of Fukushima. Significant increases in frequency of selective deaths due to mutations as consequences of Fukushima. Consequences of Fukushima. 0.05 is a pretty low dose compared to what, I don't know if we've ever seen any doses that low, talking about Fukushima. Fukushima evacuee housing compared to World War II internment camps for Japanese Americans. The evacuee housing, they have vending machines for like cigarettes and sake and stuff like this. And when you buy something, the vending machine sings you a song, "Don't Give Up on Fukushima." I can try singing it for you. Dong jingle longo wenga. I know, my Japanese suck. Radiation near Tokyo spiked to 100 million times normal. That's some headline, man. 2017. Intensive contamination hit Tokyo. Intensive. Well, what should you do? You got three choices. Should you A, close your windows, lock your doors, scream, "Oh my God," get in a corner, get a flashlight, shine it in your face, and suck on your thumb. B, get a towel, soak it in water, get two more, put it in a garbage bag soaked in water, wrap it around your head and run it and get in your car, keep it on your face and drive into the wind away from Fukushima and get on a plane and leave the country. Or C, open the windows up, get out there and have a coffee and say, "I trust the government." Radiation near Tokyo spiked to 100 million times normal and never come back. If you took a B and you also took the option of never coming back, you won 5 buckets of horse shit. First place, congratulations. You got to get your own lids, but you got to come take it right now. Intensive contamination hit Tokyo area. Extremely high levels detected. Information about the radioactive contamination was hidden from the public. Oh, yeah. We got a whole whack of headlines on that stuff. Intensive contamination. I think 100 million atoms, 100 million times what considered weapons fallout, is an event. 36 million people should be abandoning Tokyo even today. It's never too late to leave. The moral and ethical thing is to leave. 800 and what was? Hang on, I gotta get the headline. I said it too many times. Just twice tonight I brought up that story. I got an absolute duty as a nuclear troll. That's the wrong one. I'm sorry. I was very proud of myself, right? I was clicking away. I was on the round keyboard. It blows my mind how much crap I got. Not crap, but useful documentation. 865,000 cancers in the first year. They stopped releasing it because this thing went viral, eh? Air samples in Tokyo in 2011, July the 18th, were 270 times more contaminated with just cesium-137 than global weapons fallout peak. Testing, nuclear testing. So they didn't nuke you, so you didn't get nuked, so they had nuclear testing, right? And the nuclear testing worldwide was brutal. The radioactive fallout poisoned every species, every human on the planet. And so they've been at the war with us now for over 80 years. But they spent 2 decades attacking you with nuclear bombs, because the radioactive fallout covers the whole planet, no matter which bomb it is. Where you set off the bomb, in 20 days, this is what your planet looks like. Now this would be just like a Nagasaki type bomb, radioactive fallout. 270 times more contaminated with cesium. What about uranium and americium, neptunium and strontium and all the other isotopes? Well, we don't care about that, did we're bitter. We can live with that. We're Japanese. We have to make sacrifices. High levels of radioactivity found extensively. Japan says the area 150 kilometers from Fukushima is radioactive as ground zero. They had 50,000 tons of sludge. This is dehydrated sediment from the water filtration facilities. Sediment from the water filtration facilities. If the sediment was so radioactive, which is only a fraction of the water, right? The sediment is so radioactive they can't get rid of it legally, even though they said you might use it for soil. But again, it's radioactive. They couldn't use it. It's highly radioactive. But they wanted to use it because the entire country does use it because they're insane. The numbers are higher than, like pre-Fukushima, we had some kind of standards. When Fukushima happened, they just, Americans, we'll take 1,000 a kilogram. The EU was like, we'll take 1,200 a kilogram. We don't care what it is. The slaves don't know. So when the first year, this is just July even of that year. It happened March 11, March, April, May, June, July. So 4 months later, it means that your water pipes going to your house, your shower, your laundry, your kitchen sink, your washing, your dishes, everything is contaminated with radioactive. And the pipes themselves are contaminated. And they aggregate the contamination, so the water eventually becomes more contaminated the longer you stay in Tokyo. These people are insane. And Japan's National Cancer Center says the number of patients rose by, it used to be 1 in a million. With thyroid cancer, sorry. I'm sorry, let me come back here. Like when you talk about cancers, they're talking about extra cancers. You got to realize not everybody have health care. Not everybody was diagnosed. It's not just cancer you're worried about. There's all kinds of congenital malformations in the children and the species. There's heart, liver, lung, respiratory, pituitary, thyroid, adrenaline, Alzheimer's, dementia, autism, Down syndrome, schizophrenia. And we got another doctor yesterday found talking about radiation, talking about the nuclear, getting a nuclear, well, he can probably tell it better than I can. Hang on here, see if I can find it. Well, he makes a lot of sense. And the story is just horrific. I got so much I'll never find it, though, I don't think. Yeah, there it is. I'll bring it up here. I'll bring it up. Turn the volume on. What's going on here? Oh. Dr. Jack Wolfson, never do a nuclear stress test. Well, I'll let him tell the story. I'll be right back.
Never do a nuclear stress test. Hi, I'm Dr. Jack Wolfson, cardiologist for over 20 years, and I will tell you, never do a nuclear stress test. If your doctor recommends it, say no. A nuclear stress test is an injection of radioactive material into your bloodstream. It's so dangerous, the technician carries the nuclear radiation material inside of a lead-covered syringe, inside of a lead box. And then they inject it into you. And the cardiologist doesn't even question it for 1 second. They say it just goes in and out of your body quickly. They are injecting radiation into your body. Don't do it. Radiation causes heart disease, cancer, dementia, and people to die. So don't inject that. There's a better alternative. If you need a stress test, you can do a plain treadmill, or you can do a stress echocardiogram, which uses ultrasound that is safe, certainly compared to nuclear injections. So ask for a stress echocardiogram with either you on the treadmill, or they could do a pharmaceutical echocardiogram known as a dobutamine echocardiogram. They could always go straight to an angiogram if they need to, but the nuclear portion is totally unnecessary. It is only a money grab by the doctors. I know.
Yeah. Use the cardio. Get on the stairs.
Now I know better. Know better. Do better. Get a second opinion. We're here to help you. Natural Heart Doctor.
Natural Heart, H-E-A-R-T, doctor. So you got a lead-lined syringe and a lead-lined box. And they'll take the nuclear waste and stick it in you, and you don't have to store it for millions of years. We talk about this all the time. Radiation therapy is genocide. They stick the radiation in you, and now you got tumors everywhere. Radiation therapy. Look up the studies on radiation therapy. There's an eye opener. It's a heartbreaker, really, right? Because one of the reasons I'm so passionate about it is because there's so many victims, including the species, right? Reactor 3. These are legacy headlines, most of them. This one is 2021. Fukushima Daiichi Unit 3 new containment. Leaks. Leaks. So that's what it looks like originally underneath the contraption they got there. Like it lost 9 reactor cores in 6 days or something. One of them's a plutonium mixed oxide reactors. So once it goes through a chain reaction, it's hellish, the emissions. When you take it and put it through a chain reaction a second time, it's producing isotopes we haven't even named. You can do it a third and a fourth and a fifth. You have the military's done that looking for concoctions to power their lasers, right? Because it has so much energy, but they can't contain it. The process for harvesting certain isotopes are hideous. The releases into the environment are just untenable. New problems have been found related to the containment damage to Unit 3 caused by the February 2021 earthquake. New problems have been found related to the containment damage to Unit 3 caused by the February 2021 earthquake. On Unit 3, let me get a better picture. Well, there's no better picture than what I just showed you, but let me get another couple of... Yeah, my foot is hurting like hell again. That's not good. Like I was some happy day. I was walking around getting away, but I was still being careful. But I was walking flat on the ground, right? I was loving it. It was awesome. I was like, I'm getting better. I don't know if anybody's ever had gout, but it's nasty. It's nasty. It's nasty. Okay, here's another picture of Reactor 3. Remember, the building was 190 feet tall. The reactor cores and the fuel pools were at the top part of the building. TEPCO previously admitted there was containment damage and a slight drop in the water levels in the containment. So the containment is 150 feet above the top of that stump there. So what do you think? There's any pressure releases at the top of the building, 150 feet above that spot there, up there? Well, let's call it the stump. Just make it easy to appreciate what we're looking at. So 150 feet above the stump, do you think the fuel pool could be leaking? Like they do? Is that stupid? I didn't write that story, by the way. I'm just asking the question, right? Are they right? Are they claiming that they're 150? They're claiming they're 150 feet above it, and there's evidence. The madness never stops, right? Fukushima Daiichi notch tanks found to be damaged. Notched tanks. You like this one? See those rectangle tanks down there? See the water spilling out of it? Rectangular water tanks with an appearance similar to a dumpster. These portable tanks were used early in the disaster to hold contaminated water. The tank in this contaminated water is water that's been going over the fuel. And so the problem is, if you hook up a hose and run the hose there, and turn the pump on, you can never go there to turn the pump off because it's a lethal dose. You can't step over the hose because that's a lethal dose. If you put it in the tank, you can't get near the tank because it's the gamma shines, the neutron bombardment, the beta rays, the alpha shines will kill you before you can get close to it. And so the tanks were there to manipulate you into believing that they had some kind of control, that they had it like that didn't happen and this didn't happen. Everything's great. Dana's a fearmonger, and I remember 865,000 cancers just in the first year. Not everybody got health care. Not everybody was diagnosed. Annual inspections found a dislodged lid on a notched tank. Look at the corrosion in tanks in a nuclear wasteland. Everything is corroded, you know. The sandbags were placed on the lid. Who got that job, I wonder? Do you draw straws, or does the new kid on the block have to go do it? Well, they usually offer you like $1,000, $2,000 bonus if you go and put the sandbags on it. That's when you run away, by the way. Don't take the money because you won't live to pick it up and feel it. Sandbags were placed on the lid to prevent further movement. Sandbags. Don't believe a single thing this industry tells you. And if you could prove they're lying, that's even better. 2-notch tanks in the W storage area found to have holes corroded through the lids. Well, nobody stood up there taking that picture. That's a drone. So nobody went there and dropped bags on it because otherwise the picture would have been from closer. It wouldn't have been from a drone, right? These tanks were gray in color when they were put into use at the Fukushima Daiichi. They were gray. Like the idea of all of this, because you can't, like, if everything is highly radioactive and you're putting stuff there, you're going back and putting more stuff there, you're dying from that exposure. The guy who brings it there probably dies from that exposure. But now you got a concentration everywhere, so the gamma shines, neutrons are lethal. Your organs will melt. So these tanks were just, that was the cover story. We're going to give you a bunch of tanks, fill up, and it's, like, you got to realize this is not academics that are doing this. This is not scientists that are doing this. This is not TEPCO/employees, nuclear industry employees. This is the desperate people that are doing that don't have a job and have been tricked and deceived and manipulated and coerced to go and taking a job and doing that work, and by proxy then getting sick and poisoned and dying in order so they can get photographs to come and say to the media, look, things are happening. We're going to get this done. You got to keep buying the food to support the farmers. But the Japan Times was pushing rice from the nuclear wasteland because if the children, they wanted the elderlies to eat it because the children would eat it, they get sick and die. And older people got less to lose, is what he said, right? So you had old age homes buying tons of this at a time to kill everybody in an old age home. That's not a culture that you need to support or want to support under any circumstances. Fukushima Daiichi waste containers repaired with sticker sheets. Okay. Oh, I love that story. We covered that back in the day. Sticker sheets. What does that look like, Dana? Well, there it is there. You just stick it on the hole and nobody's the wiser. The boss likes it. TEPCO published new information about solid radioactive waste containers in September. This took place after a container leaked highly radioactive liquids. Well, what kind of liquids could that be, I wonder? What kind of liquids are you going to put in these small containers? It's supposed to be sludge from the filtration facilities, right? This would be tens of thousands of sieverts. 3 sieverts will melt your organs. Tens of thousands will smurf you up. You're a dead man walking that day, at that hour, that minute, depending on how close you get to it. And so this was, you can't filter the radiation because you're pouring water over a meltdown, a curium, which is the name assigned to a nuclear meltdown. Like anything that's solidified, that's considered curium. And because if you don't keep that cool, then it could go into what's known as a recriticality, where you have a sustained chain reaction at thousands and thousands of degrees, atomizing and aerosoling, ionizing and radiating everything in proximity. And these are just disease factories from a whole different dimension. 5,338 containers were inspected. Maybe that's how we got the technology, from a different dimension. 5,338 containers were inspected. So, like, you're talking about highly radioactive sludge. And do you get any idea how long it takes to inspect that many? To inspect it, a lot of them are piled together, so you can't inspect all sides of it or underneath it. 304 had significant corrosion, 342 had significant dents. So they put a sticker on it, right there, look. That's how it was done in Japan. Like putting a diaper on it. We put a diaper on it. It's got cellulite into it. A bunch of things I'm not going to say tonight. They have vending machines for them, though. And so this shows you how lunatic these people are. Like, who got that job there to go up to the tank and put their hands on it? How do you get that job? Because I got a brother-in-law I wouldn't mind giving that job to. We all do, Dana. These people are lunatics. They want you to believe that they're walking up to these highly radioactive tanks and they're just, can you hold a little higher? A little to your left. Use both hands, George. Can you turn your hands like this? I go back to the truck and get me a pop. TEPCO repaired the radioactive waste container by plunging. What the hell is it? Plunging, Dana? That's a great question. I don't know. It's my word. I'm going to get it copyrighted, so don't steal it on me. Large adhesive-backed plastic sheets to the areas of the metal containers that have suffered, like it's a human or something, corrosion, damage, and leaks. No other sealing work appears to have been done to these containers besides the adhesive plastic sheet. TEPCO provides no further information on this plastic sticker material or the expected durability of adhesive use. So are these like lead-lined adhesive stickers or something? Look, you can see that one up there. It's got a little patch on the hole itself, and then The plastic sticker holds it into place. And you can see over there the actual hole. One of them. There's another one down there. Yeah, before and after, right? Duh. Before. So see, you get the whole bottom stickered on that one. See all the rust up on the bottom? Geniuses. Geniuses, man. I want that job. That's my job right there. Going around putting stickers on highly radioactive tanks. Yeah. It must have to be a pretty good camera to take a picture that clean at a highly radioactive nuclear wasteland site. I doubt if they're at Fukushima at all. They don't show anything background, right? A note in the document cites the need to determine the internal contents of 411 waste containers. 249 waste containers have had the contents identified. Who got that job? Hey, bring that young Canadian guy over here. As of August 16, 2021, there was no humanity at Fukushima whatsoever. Japan's nuclear regulatory agency admits Fukushima Daiichi is still leaking into the Pacific. Leaking. Oh, I know you didn't say leak. I'll kick your ass if I'll do. Leaking. I don't know how anything got out of that building. How does that work? How's something get out of that building? Anybody know? That's that building right here, by the way. How did anything get out of this? Clearly, it all fell back down inside the building and then resealed itself. You know, some sawdust and glue, glass, cement maybe. Seal it, right? Saying as people don't mind dying. You know, we know what happened to Buddy, don't we? These people are insane. And it's in our nuclear regulatory agency in Japan, which were created after Fukushima, by the way, admits Fukushima is still leaking into the ocean. How does anything get out of these buildings? I refuse to believe there's a leak there. I'd be proud to live right there alongside of it, sure. Let's see. Is there a new meaning to the word leak that I'm not aware of? Like leak means explosions or something like that? I don't know, right? They change things so often. I can't keep up with nothing. The head of the Japs NRA stated that the contaminated water is continuing to seep, not even leak, but seep into the ground, leaking out to the sea, Dana. I should have noticed what they meant, seeped. Chairman told a meeting of the body's commissioners after they examined recent studies carried out on the groundwater samples in a nuclear wasteland. Who got that job? Yeah, I can see after that all comes back down and lands, I'm going to be wandering around there checking things out. How about you? Let's play the video. That's always entertaining. What have I got done here? Must be right there, I suppose. Leaking. Is it leaking? I'll leak ya. Let's try this one here. I think this is it. It's this one or nothing. Here we go. This is the big moment. Is that reactor 3? Oh, yeah, that's reactor 3. So you're going to come back there and hang out there, are you? That's 9 reactor cores burning up, just atomizing and aerosoling because they're exposed to oxygen. That's why there's so much there. And that doubles every second because this stuff is all splitting atoms. every one of these particles in that plume is splitting atoms forever. So this plume keeps getting bigger every second, doubles every second. Let's watch that one more time. How can anything get out of that building? It all went up so nice and perfect and fell right back down. Like, if you swung through that plume on a Tarzan-type rope at 10 times the speed you normally would, you would die before you came out the other side from the... Your organs would melt. You would literally skin, your eyeballs would melt right out of your head. Hopefully that's what happened to Bibi. The head of the whack jobs, the lunatics. Tritium. High levels of tritium. Another radioactive. Really, had a nuclear meltdown. How can you find tritium, such a low energy signal, when everything is curium? That's what they call it, a curium. That signal is so strong you can't read cesium, right? You can't read, even though cesium pulses energy 600 feet, there's so much curium there, it'll displace the signal, and it'll break your Geiger counter, those kind of numbers. And other radioactive contaminants, like plutonium and americium and neptunium and strontium and all the stuff you don't want to have in your planet. TEPCO reiterated that the Unit 2 cable trench is the source of the leak. What about that one? Could that be a leak? Because let me show you reactor 2 before we move to the next story. Yeah. So I'll show you what reactor 2 looks like. Maybe. If you're good. If you don't pick on me too much. Let me get another picture. Yeah, these people are crazy. Certifiably crazy, right? Okay, I got that. Wait, now I'll get a picture of reactor 2. Why is this story so difficult all the time? Why is it so hard to get through a couple of lousy stories? Well, because they tell so many lies, you can't actually keep up with all the lies. What do we got here? These people are insane, right? Yeah. Anyway, here we go. Let me do this the hard way. So reactor 2 is the source of the pollution, which looks like that. And right on one side of it is reactor 1, which exploded. On this side, right behind me, was reactor 3. It exploded. Reactor 3 exploded. But reactor 2 is the source. But it is true. It's gone China syndrome. It split the Earth open in 6 places where the steam coming out of the ground is over 10 sieverts per hour. 3 will melt your organs, will kill you in 5-10 minutes. 10 sieverts per hour, and the steam is coming out constantly at that kind of rate, which means, you're talking about thousands of sieverts in that local area. It's non-survivable. Reactor 2 core melted through the containment vessel. They lost the race. Experts assume in reactor 2 a cracked containment vessel that allowed the release directly from the melted core. Radioactive plume was blown south. Yeah. Then north, then east, and then west, and then south, and then north, then east, and south, and west. That's what's left of reactor 3 right alongside of it. But hey, the magic of Hollywood, they were up on top of it, 190 feet in the air, getting fuel out of the pool. The fuel is 150 feet above the stump. So when the media is telling you they're on top of a nuclear meltdown, you need to pay attention, trust me. TEPCO says safety upgraded the Fukushima plant after 2 deaths. Did I mention there was 865,000 cancers in the first year? There's a street in Fukushima City, 60 kilometers away, where 7 people dropped dead in just 1 year, in the first year. Said They responded to the deaths of 2 workers by stopping work. They both died at one time. TEPCO's safety response. Now, of course, officially nobody died there. They changed they moved the goalpost there in 2023. Response to 2 workers' deaths in 2025. No, Dana, nobody died at Fukushima. Mom, Dana's down here, fearmonger, come down. TEPCO's responses were obviously superficial, seemed to lack any serious analysis of the work's processes. The management of the plant that are the root cause of many accidents have injured or killed workers in the last year. So that's not the first time people died. The bolted together tanks have been used to hold highly radioactive water and sludge. If you put sludge from a nuclear meltdown, then you have a chain reaction. You have a criticality event in the tank. You got to run away and never come back. It'll burn holes through the tank if you're lucky and go down into the earth, and then everybody's unlucky. TEPCO to release the groundwater at Fukushima potential consequences. So they're going to release the groundwater. Like, you can't contain anything. Everything was lost in 6 days, for goodness sakes. So they spent 15 years telling you lies. These are some of them. There have been no documentation to prove that these tanks, TEPCO says they will be used, have been cleaned. They will be using, have been cleaned, or will not add to the contamination of the boy. I'm not sure what they mean by that. There has been no documentation to prove that these tanks, TEPCO says they will be using, have been cleaned. So I thought they were new tanks. Oh, old bolt together tanks. So they had, who did, how are you going to have beta in 2012? You have no way even today of filtering this stuff, because even if you could, you're aggregating gammas, alphas, neutrons, and betas in the filter particles, fuel particles. So you're going to have a chain reaction for sure, right? In the filter, but the filter is going to be, if you filter 1,000 liters, a ton, that's 2,000 sieverts. Right? Do you get it? Each liter is a sievert, 2 sieverts. So therefore, 1,000 liters is 2,000 sieverts. 3 or 4 or 5 sieverts, say 10, 20 sieverts will melt your organs pretty darn quick in just a couple minutes. And it doesn't care if you're going through 4 feet of cement to get you. It'll melt your organs. What do you think a paper suit is going to work in that environment? Are you one of those, give me a paper suit and I'll be fine, morons? 2 sieverts an hour, I mean, at one point there, because we were beating the shit out of them, we've been doing this for years. At one point we had traction on my other site. They took down when I was there looking for spiders, because that's a crime. Two sieverts an hour means for every 1,000 liters, and there's 250 gallons, and there's 300,000 gallons in the tank. So 300,000 times 2, or times 4, right, to get liters, and then multiply it by 2 to get sieverts. Multiple millions of sieverts per tank. And you're going to put all that through the filter. Now, once the filter hits, 1 ton of water, so it's 2,000 sieverts in the filter. The water coming out the other side is no longer going to be 2 sieverts. It's going to be 12 or 20 or 500 sieverts, because you're putting through something that's going to you put fresh water through the filter at that point. When it comes out the other side, it'll be 10, 15, 20 sieverts. It doesn't need to lose its capacity to radiate the water, because it's thousands of sieverts. So imagine after 24 hours. And what? You're going to take that sludge now from the filter, and you're going to put it in a box, and you're going to go and lean on it and put a piece of plastic on it. Get the fuck out of here. According to TEPCO, water wants to pump up. How are you going to step over the hoses? How are you going to step over the lines? How are you going to How are you going to connect it up? Who's going to get that shitty fucking job? What kind of electric pumps are going to work in that environment? None. To remove 1,000 tons of groundwater from the area near the reactor daily, if all goes well, this is going to be incredibly radioactive materials. Right? It'll kill any electronics. Pumping up such a large amount directly next, because of liquefaction, to the reactors and contaminated water tanks could have potentially, because they got wells drilled all over the place and they're sucking that water up, allegedly filtering it and going into tanks. This is stuff that's gone over the melted fuel, which now, this is a perpetual disease factory, a perpetual machine. It's a perpetual machine, right? It's producing this stuff for millions and millions of years. That's a perpetual machine, right? That's what nuclear is. It's the only perpetual machine we got. Once it goes through a chain reaction, you take it out a year later, 14 months later, it's still splitting atoms forever and ever and ever. It's a perpetual disease factory. There's 1,000 fuel pools worldwide poisoning everything within 1,000 kilometers. Well, it's worldwide, but heavily within 1,000 kilometers. If you're within 1,000 kilometers, you're seeing massive increases in heart, liver, lung, respiratory, pituitary, thyroid, adrenaline, Alzheimer's, dementia, autism, diabetes, Down syndrome, schizophrenia. Everybody's sick. Cancer in almost every house. Every kid, every street got 10 kids with cancers. It used to be none. So again, right, all these hyperbole where there's really, it's meant to distract you. It's meant to make you think that they're in charge, that they're gaining ground, that they have the moral high ground, that they are stoic and noble, and these are fucking fantasies. Both the plants themselves and the current seismic standards come into question if the quake was the major factor. The seemingly minor distinction between tsunami and quake could mean the end of the nuclear industry in Japan. And I didn't finish the last story about paper suits, where we tormented them for years, and they came out with a story saying that they burned 7,000 paper suits a day. What the fuck is a paper suit going to protect anybody when the water is 2 sieverts a liter? How's a paper suit part of this equation at all? Because it's not. So anybody that's wearing a paper suit knows nothing about nuclear. They never would wear the paper suit. They never would even go to the site if you know about nuclear. Extensive investigations required, including inspection of Unit 1 in order to find the true cause of the disaster. Well, the problem with Unit 1, you can't inspect Unit 1. There's a simple reason. Again, I'm not allowed to tell you. I have to show you the evidence before I open my fucking mouth. Otherwise, I'm a lawyer. My detractors... So, Reactor 1 blew up. So that explosion also drove fuel right down into the ground, into the torus underground. And so the above ground, underground, you had 9 reactor cores going off at one time, cooked off. So if you're walking anywhere on any ground where that plume is touching, it's a lethal dose. They covered the ground originally with cement plates, or steel plates that were 8 feet by 16 feet welded together. Had cranes laying them all over the place so the homeless weren't dropping dead. Then they poured cement over all of that with the world's biggest cement trucks, pump trucks. Then they put more they put pavement over it. Then they put more plates on that and more cement on that. They done the entire site like that because that plume, each reactor core, and there was 9 reactor cores at the top of each of the 4 buildings, so 36 reactor cores. Each core was massive, with pure uranium, pure plutonium. Each reactor core was equal to 100 to 1,000 Chernobyls. And many times I'm leaning towards thousands because it's a meltdown. So the curium production is obnoxious forever and ever and ever. Strontium peaks, takes 3 years for it finally peaks, and is hideous for the first 3 years. But then it's a 100-to-1 ratio of cesium-137 for hundreds of years. And then we got studies from the French government of 1 million to 10 million atoms of cesium-137 per cubic meter of air covering the northern hemisphere, particularly Canada, United States immediately, and eventually covering the whole planet at 1 million to 10 million atoms. These are absurd numbers. But you have to multiply it by 100, right, to get a proximity to this strontium-90, this bone seeker, which sterilized through a mutation of the stem cells of all the species in increments over the last 15 years, except for the few remainers, but the majority have already now stopped reproducing. Current government investigators have not been allowed into the plant by TEPCO. So the government investigators not allowed into an industrial accident site or / nuclear meltdown. Well, the current government-led investigators, you couldn't drag them to Fukushima plant. They would claw the eyes out of your head. They would screaming for their mommies. A combination of high radiation, dangerous conditions make extended entries into the buildings difficult. Now, you can't get into these buildings. Your organs melt before you get close to the door, if the door even exists anymore. That's the way it is. That's the way it is. Just checking the time there. A group of scientists have suggested radioactive soil is being collected in Japan and dumped in the Pacific. That's an understatement. They would put it in the containers first, as if that truly mattered. The whole country, every time we have a typhoon or rain or snow, is washing radioactive materials into the Pacific, the entire country. And they spent over a decade burning it, grinding it up, taking it out of prefectures and burning it in the incinerators. They're trying to exterminate the planet, and it looks like they succeeded. Should have sent more food to Israel. It saved everybody a bunch of fucking nightmares. Anyway, we'll wind it back, I guess. So, Colonel Wilkinson, I believe that's his name. My apologies if I'm wrong. He's very informed. He's an old boot shit guy. He's straight up. And he's retired for a long time. And I've seen him very passionate about Gaza, very passionate about this, very passionate about stories that matter, very articulated. Right, and I love this man up here. I can't remember his name for some reason. He's an ex-CIA analyst. He's 76 or 74. But when you look at the videos of pre-Bibi, pre-controversy with Benjamin Netanyahu, and then videos of him post, like, why is he in a I thought everybody was in a bomb shelter from my understandings of it. Why doesn't he just do an interview with the local TV station, right? Why in a coffee shop? Why would people, no one that anybody knows around him? Why would no other familiar places or faces? And so these are really important questions. The first 25 minutes, I think I'd done that narrative justice. I gave you my evidence. And I know the industry, right, the public relation firms will just come in and say I'm full of shit and everything else. But I actually provide my documentation. I'm not full of shit. Like them, that's what they do for a living. They try to fill you with shit. And then the same thing with this video, right? Where his ring disappears on his hands, and I showed you that in that first 25-minute segment. then when you look at his face, we know pre-controversy, say 10 days ago, and then his whole body posture. If you watch any videos of Benjamin Netanyahu, he's very animated, right? His whole body. He's always thrusting his upper body. His whole body moves. He doesn't. When he's talking, he's like he's selling it. Doesn't matter what he's got to say, he's selling it. Yeah, I got up this morning and I brushed my teeth, right? You know, he's selling it, man. Where am I to? Oh, not to be a scumbag. Oh, there I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be. What have I got done here? Oh, I see. I was on the second set. I was supposed to be on number 1. There we are. Get me back to normal. Okay. Start trying to wrap my mind around. Post Benjamin Netanyahu. I was going to have like fireworks here tonight and everything. But I got to play it cautious like everybody else. One can only hope his kid was in the building when she was blown up. His youngest one is just disgusting. These are genocidal monsters. History will show these people as genocidal monsters. Hideous, unconditionally monsters. Ooh, alrighty. Hi, everybody. Let me call it quits, I guess, here tonight. Remember, all the whales are emaciated. They need a war to cover up an extinction event. And boy, it looks like we got it. It looks like they might be, this could be COVID 2.0, so to speak. Looks like they could do a lockdown because they have to save on fuel for all your countries worldwide because the Hormuz Strait is blocked up and all they can do is lock you in your house and get digital IDs and the government will take care of you. You got to get your injections, of course. They're going to usher in another area. It looks like they're going to have another lockup. This looks like where it's leading to because you won't be able to afford to drive your car. It looks like oil's going to hit, dare I say it, $500 a barrel. It's going to hit $200 this week. And so prices at the gas pump are going to double. And then, because they weren't quite ready, because you remember how quick all this started. Trump was like, oh, it's just going to be a little excursion. Everybody's saying it's not a war, and Trump's out there, and the Secretary of War are out there saying, we're not going to stop until they surrender, right, until they capitulate. Well, that's a war. That's the definition of a war. And the amount of bombs they've dropped is definitely a definition of a war. And Israel, in 2 weeks' time, might be almost flat. Right there. Iran has 53 Muslim countries out there, and Iran's doing it on their own, except for China's and Russia's technology. That's the last 9 months. They wanted to make it a fair fight. I guess that's why they waited 9 more months. They stopped for 9 months. I got to wait for them to get more weapons to blow up Israel and make our plans work. The technology that we got showing up almost en masse now is life-changing technology, life extension technology, robots, genetic modifications. There's incredible technology showing up, and they don't want you to have access to it. They want the planet down to a small number, and they are just the extinctionists, wealthy that have indulged so much, they're bored with everything. Now they just want to kill everybody because we're just plebes. We have all the whales, birds, and animals, mass extinction event playing out. And the worst kind of extinction where it's undeniable is an extinction because every species of whale is showing up starved to death worldwide. So the food chain is broken worldwide. The breadbasket of our planet is broken. It can't sustain the life, right? And they're going to take the most profitable, evil way they can to take advantage of it. They've already compromised everybody's immune system through the jabs and through GMO and through the chemtrails and through radioactive food. Every nuclear plant on the planet is surrounded by farms, as far as you can see. Fuel pools are hemorrhaging into them, poisoning everybody in your restaurants, your supermarkets. Is a good way, the best way really, to control the population in increments over time. All right, I'm just wasting a few more minutes. And we're going to go hit a song. Hugs for everybody. Yeah, $20 a gallon is coming. That's right, James. That's 15 years of ongoing core meltdowns. That should be the title for my next video. How many reactors did the storm over the west-east coast go over? I don't know. Organic, hi there. Fukushima was 400 times worse than Chernobyl. Hi, Dana. Hugs, Dana. Thanks for Dana. Dana's been around, man, for a long time. He's a good soul, buddy. All right, hugs for everybody. I'm going to play. James got a new song here. I just love listening to it. I'm going to play it again. Nuclear Energy Launchpad. Let me bring it up on the screen. I put a link into the first song. This was the same artist, musician. Nuclear Energy Launchpad. Nuclear Energy, just scroll down. He's got, these are really good. This is an amazing video right there from the day. The life of a Fukushima slave, corporate slave, I guess is one way to look at it. That's my version anyway. I think that's James' version too. What Noah's thinking, that's a crazy good song. I should probably play that. This is really good. Like, you can't even tell the difference. It's so good. Now, if they hired James to make a video of Benjamin Netanyahu, nobody's going to know the fucking difference. I'll tell you that much right now. But this rap he's got going on, or spoken word, or whatever it is, this is really good. Same as that the song we had tonight is really good. And I always try to bring you like exceptional flavors that this man is producing, right, in the hopes that you'll get some attention. So there can be no mistake in it. If I love it, that's a fucking good song right there. That's, everybody else has to at least like it, because it can't be bad if I love it. I love it, man. It's awesome. Have a great night. Hugs for everybody. We'll see everybody in the next show. Subscribe.
Offers nuclear developers something unprecedented. Everybody greenwashed into new initiatives. Fuel cycle staged out, private floor all clinical. Fast track startup, make the risk look trivial. Test floor, shield wall, all the boys try. So baptized, DOE night lights everybody so dead-eye. Pilot run, first of a kind, sell it for a limited time. Critical by July, what price Anderson act like? Direct access to national nuclear expertise. Everybody too calm, whole scene radioactive. Press shots, make the waste photogenic. Dress code, make disaster anthropogenic. Launchpad USA, wide-scale commercial deployment. Whole crew run deep, say less, stay sleep. Nuclear launchpad, dead concepts, investors wrestling. Fast track enrichment innovation. Mox, fuel in my car. Come on, baby, get strapped on. INL out back, haul yard, operational, authorization chain, all optics intentional. Hot cell, sealed bay, whole mood, look commercial. Bury what you can't solve, then rename it essential. Fuel bay, boys, paper suits, dead optics, close circuit monitor, whole process like narcotic. Launch out on my lips, make the rollout sound harmless. If the whole world pees later, they don't even want to face it. Red lane, low tone, everybody too ready, talking like a half-life. Only hurts if you let a new core, old waste stream, but Britain stay heavy. If it all goes first critical, they'll just call it legendary. Launchpad USA, commercial deployment. Whole crew run deep, say less, stay sleep. Nuclear launchpad, dead concepts, investors wrestling. Fast tracking rich bit innovations. Knox, fuel in my car. Come on, maybe get strapped up. No one say waste stream, no one say routine, Vincent. And everybody says cool, clear is clean. Nobody wanna notice dry cat. No one say fallout, no one say we're not rockets. Everybody loves the rollout till the PR funds run. Nuclear launch pad, take concepts, investors restless. Oh.